Hello everyone, welcome back to another very special video. We are on our 21st installment of the State of FEH Podcast. I'm your host DTM and I'm joined by Oblivion Knight and Joel from Theology as always. How are you two doing this fine evening?
It's been an interesting month, very interesting month.
Very interesting indeed, yeah?
Hello, Summoners, and DTM's podcast is old enough to drink in podcast years. Just take that in, like that's nuts.
Yes, that's how it works.
They've all been an absolute blast. This is so much fun. I always look forward to these.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I always have so much fun talking Fae with y'all. Talking about Fae, honestly, is super interesting, and there's definitely a lot to discuss, as Oblivion mentioned, this past month. And yeah, why don't we just get right into it, starting from the top. So the elephant in the room that I think hanged over this month was that we have a brand new type of hero bringing us a brand new type of slot, the X slot. Now, we did have some semblance of like a new potential D slot. There was like data mine and all of that. And we did previously, in the previous installment, had some speculations, our worst case and best case scenarios. So I guess to start this off, like, what are your overall thoughts on this new X skill slot, and how does it like compare against like what you fear versus what you hope?
I think Joel should go first because he's even more optimistic than I am.
I am. I think these are fine. And that's the good and the bad thing. Like, I don't know that they're going to particularly rock the meta. There are some, basically looking at it like a seal, there are some things that they could do that could really change things up, like if they did Vantage or Hardy Bearing or something like that. But overall, I think this is okay. I think these units are more influential as fodder factories than they are as skill factories, or as that specific X skill factory. But I mean, it's just okay. That's kind of the problem. And that seems to be the theme for this time of year with Fae in general. They release a lot of okay.
Yeah, it's what I like to call the CYL coma. It's like very down low in this time of Fae.
Hey, now, we're 21 now. We can call it the CYL hangover.
That is true.
Joel! Oh my god. Oh my gosh. I will just say that last year that we got Rearmed Heroes, and Rearmed Heroes were like a grand slam. That was like one of the best things they've added to the game ever. So I wasn't expecting that big of a high, but man, I feel like they just like completely whiffed. Like we went from like a grand slam to like a bud to like we're like barely getting on base here. Like it's bad. Like I don't know. Like for me, like you said, it's boring. First of all, it's very boring, and then second of all, it just. Like, it's not the worst case scenario, right? The worst case scenario was that they released these new D slots that are ridiculously powerful that you can only get from select heroes, and everybody needs them, right? That's the worst scenario, because then the whales just get a massive advantage while everybody else is lagging behind, right? So we didn't get that, which was good. But at the same time, we got these skills that are boring right now, but have potential to be toxic in the future. And at the same time, they can't be used on all heroes. They technically can, but you have to give up your PRF skill. So then it's kind of like a weird balancing act of like, okay, do I give up my PRF skill for this effect? Is it good enough for that? Can I, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, I just don't like it at all, and I think it just opens up the doorway for things in the future that could be gross, I guess is the best way to put it. And I wouldn't put it past them, like, next year, if this doesn't do well, they're like, hey, so now we have attuned skills, now we have, I don't know, X times 2 skills, and they can be used on anyone, and they're super toxic, right? And they just go in the same slot. Like, I could see that happening. So, I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of them at all.
I'm personally like more in the middle. Like, I agree with you. It's definitely not the worst case scenario. Like, my fear was that this potential D slot could be open to like any skill, and you would have to summon for the specific hero in order to unlock that, which basically would make those like attuned units mandatory, essentially.
Right.
Here, like, it is a lot more controlled. It is for a specific skill, and it's actually very similar to my idea of like inheritable dual skill, except obviously a bit different, and that is just another skill slot. And at least as of right now, like what we have Death Blow Echo and Attack Oath Echo, which I think both of us can agree are not the greatest for most units, especially yeah, not the greatest so far. Gosh, I forgot what to say. I was laughing too hard.
Is like the thing that like Joel mentioned too, like with their fodder factories, that's true. Like they are very good fodder factories, but at the same time, there's one thing notably different than them from Rearmed Heroes, and that's you can't pass on their attuned skills to other rearmed or attuned heroes to duplicate. You can't do that, which is a big downside in my opinion, because that means every time you want Attack Oath Echo, which right now probably isn't that much, but in the future, right, you have to summon that specific hero. You cannot summon a different hero and give it to them, right? You can't summon one Peony and then give it to, I don't know, Attuned Felix in my dreams, right? That can hand out everything. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that's a big downside.
Right. And like as you said, like right now, like these are very tamed. There are potential for certain skills, depending on how IS does it, that it could become like pretty game changing.
Right.
It just depends on how IS like handles this, and at least right now, according to this nomenclature that they have established, I know one sample size, great way to establish patterns, but it seems like it's more akin to like tier 2 type of skills in terms of power level, at least when we compare it to like Death Blow.
Right.
Who knows how that will change in the future, but I would imagine that like IS would at least in the beginning start slow and who knows, maybe ramp up in the future.
The biggest problem is something that I mean, Oblivion pounds the table for, and this doesn't create more design space. It just stacks up what we're already having in power. We were looking at Omni-Tank matchups versus Wind Claude, and we were trying to figure out what was going on, and I like, no kidding, it was 40 lines of code that we were looking at on Arctic Silver Fox's matchup, and Oblivion made the statement, like, the fact that this is all one attack is ridiculous. And I mean, that's exactly right. This is one more complicated thing to make a game that's hard to understand even harder to understand.
Exactly. I think that's like one of the biggest problems with the game right now is the complexity. That and like a not very welcoming new player experience, right? Not because of the community. The community is great, but like the actual game itself does not welcome new players very well. So you combine that with like a very high learning curve, and like it's not inviting a lot of people in.
Right. And like my biggest thing about these X skills is what like Joel mentioned before about how there's this like perf restriction on them where you can't use your perf skill with the new X skills. And like if you look at a lot of like the meta tier list or what a lot of people use right now, like all of them, like most of the good ones anyways, do have perfs that they like use. Like obviously there's Wind Claude, there's Hinoka, the Kroms with their special assists, etc., etc. So like I do see like there's two paths. Like yeah, this is a way to make it, I guess, a little bit more balanced, and so like all these powerful units, you know, can't just run with like +4 more attack, the horror.
Right. Yeah.
But like also like, you know, like Legendary Ike won't be able to use that with like Radiant Ether, although I don't think you'll be that ashamed about that.
That's the example you picked, really?
I mean, I could you like Altina with Twin Blades with like a potential Vantage X Echo
right,
skill.
Exactly. That would hurt. That would hurt really bad. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I get like I do think that it can like kind of close that gap. But at the same time, it makes characters more expensive to build, right? Let's say you're a massive Nethany fan. Okay, well now you need an X skill to have her build complete, which if you're like me and you really like completing things, that's gonna bother you. Like it definitely bothers me. So I don't know, like overall I don't think it's like the most offensive thing added to the game ever by any means, but I don't like the step it's taking, like the direction it's pointing us towards.
There's been this shift of focus with this, and this like definitely like exemplifies this. Like IS has shifted more towards like the having a focus on building up units, which we've seen when they release like a lot of these skills, now these X skills. And I think, you know, I think a lot of players would agree, like, building up units is one of their favorite parts about FEH. And, like, I guess IS is trying to get into that. It'll be interesting to see because, like, at least right now, I don't think anyone's, like going gaga over these X skills, but there is, like, some potential future Echo skills that I think could, like, be very enticing.
And I love the building up heroes. I think that is really fun. I mean, I recently built up OG Sharena, and I thought that was just an absolute blast. But the problem, and we've talked about this before, but the skills that you build them up with expire so quickly.
Right.
There's, I mean, like, for instance, a distant attack speed. If you had put that on a unit and then a month later, attack speed prime comes out, and that is a clear upgrade there.
Right.
And so that's, and I don't know how to balance that. Like, that's a hard thing to do, but that is my one problem, is if you spend a whole lot upgrading an older unit, then a month later, suddenly you have to upgrade them again.
Yeah.
And that may be by design to get us to spend more orbs, but you know, I don't love it.
Yeah, and I don't feel like it was always like that. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but like I felt like for the longest time, like the A skill was kind of like we had Swift Sparrow 2, and that was kind of the standard, and then we got Ideal and Catch, and Ideal and Catch lasted a while. I feel like at least a year and a half or more, right? But then just in this year, we've gotten like 5 different A skills that are all very, very, very powerful. And while they don't all like power creep each other exactly, they definitely do options, like some very powerful options, right? Like Finish, Hexblade, Flash Sparrow, Flared Sparrow, right? We're just like, it just feels like A skills are like going really quick. And I think it's actually all skills, where it makes it kind of painful to build heroes right now.
I mean, I do like the... Oh, go ahead.
That was a big thing when I had my chat with PM1. I mean, looking at over the past year, the heroes, they aren't... It's not that they're particularly stronger than the past years. Like, I don't think that's the case. Like, and really what you're looking at, there's preference weapons.
Right.
But the skill creep is insane. It is, yeah. Which is exactly what you just said in different words.
Yeah. I will say, like, I do like the fact that there's like all these different type of A skills that do different things. Like, we have Flash Barrel that accelerates special cooldown. We have Hexblade that gives you damage, adaptive damage. We have Finish that gives you healing and true damage. We have Flared Sparrow that gives us like the Divine Flame effects. Personally, I do like it when there's like different options that, you know, folks can use to like help with their heroes. Personally, I was never the biggest fan of Distant AS solo. I'm going to be completely real. Like,
wow.
Okay. I mean, the solo condition was just like not it for me personally. Like,
Eat the raids. You're typically solo anyway, so I feel like it's just an improvement.
I mean, I guess, but like, I don't do Omni tanks, so I guess that's where I was.
DTM's like, I'm above that. I don't do that stuff.
DTM, the skill was never for you. It wasn't.
I guess it wasn't, yeah. But yeah, like, again, I guess to tie this back in, like, there is definitely this focus by IS on building units, and I do think that is something I don't see IS like stopping in the future. At least like providing options for skills. And when it comes to like these new X skills, like, what are some of the dreaded or anticipated future Echo skills are you thinking about?
Hardy bearing, Vantage, Distant Counter, Close Counter, Null C.
Oh man, Null C. Wow, that would be... that would be something.
What else is like disgusting? Desperation could be kind of annoying on the right hero.
Null follow-up even would be... as readily available as that is, that would be interesting.
Definitely. Especially for like Cavs and Flyers.
Oh man, that...
Would Cavs and Flyers be able to inherit that if they made it? Maybe.
It depends on how they do it, yeah. I don't know. They're very weird with their choices on who can inherit what.
I forget. Who can inherit the Oath Echo skill? What is it? Just like Cavs and Flyers? I actually don't remember.
Infantry and Flyers, yeah.
infantry and oh yeah, right. Okay, so they're probably gonna like inherit their inheritance restrictions from their parents, I would assume, in that case.
Most likely.
Well, I don't know. With those devs, it'll be like, hey, you know what? It's Erica dev. Here's Erica no follow-up. Erica can inherit it too. I'm like, okay, not a surprise here.
I mean, the most egregious example of that is the distant counter dragon seal. Like,
dragon devs like, just give me this one, please.
Right. I'm pretty sure they just did that for Brave Tiki, and it ended up not even being that good for her. Oh man.
Well, yeah, they don't. I don't know. But yeah, other than that, I guess the actual heroes themselves, the actual Attuned Heroes, how are you guys feeling about them? Because I mean, they do seem pretty good. Not that I've really used them that much, because I was mad. But I'd like to hear from you guys how you feel about them. D-Team, you didn't pull either, though, right?
I didn't pull, yeah.
Okay. So Joel, you are Insight.
They're amazing. I mean, they're upgraded Peony, right? I mean, it's even better. And Triandra is sneaky good. I mean, in like light season, the fact that she basically puts penalties on the foe instead of bonuses means that you don't have to worry about drives, or feuds. So,
right.
She's sneaky good.
And she has that flared sparrow effect too, right?
Yeah. Like,
yes.
Any within 3 rows or 3 columns, one of those, like, you just get like 5 damage on the opponent, which
that's so strong. Real true damage.
Actual true damage. Unlike the fake true damage that we have termed as a community. Yes.
Oh man.
Truer damage. There.
Truer damage, right? Call it X damage or something stupid. But yes. So overall, they're obviously pretty good units. Which, and that banner was high value, right? Double green sharing.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, I don't know why I said that. Now I think, I just gave myself PTSD. Anyway, we'll talk about that later.
We'll get to that later, yeah.
It was a good value banner.
Yeah, like having an arcane, a rearmed and attuned on the same color is like really good for the fodder factoring.
Right, exactly.
And like Peony and Triandra, even as units they're good, their fodder as well is also really good. Like Rock Slide Dance giving DR. That's really insane, yeah.
Yes. And triple spark too, so if you like wanted to commit, you get value no matter what.
Exactly.
It treated me very well, so I love
Did you give Rock Slide Dance to anyone yet, Joel?
No, but right now Peony's the bonus unit, so I've been using it there, and it's kind of incredible to be able to use something other than a DR skill in the B.
You can even stack it too, which is cool.
You can stack it, but the biggest thing is, I mean, the biggest thing Omni tanks need right now is damage piercing. It's one of the reasons I kind of slept on Dimitri's Refine.
It's pretty good. I've been having fun.
Yeah, I've been going back and really digging into it because on first glance, I thought it was okay. I mean, it was good. I don't think anyone doubted that. But that piercing is really fantastic and is exactly what Omni tanks need right now.
Right. Yeah. If he didn't get any type of piercing, I probably would have been like, okay, this is a dead Refine. But the fact that he got piercing made it good. I still don't think it's like the perfect. Like, it's not a Brave Dimitri Refine.
No.
You know what I mean? It's not at that level, or even like Legendary Seliph. But it's like right below it is pretty much where I'd put it at, where it's like it's very solid.
Right. And like as you mentioned, like piercing is just so important because
so
I sort of
important.
think we like for a while, like if we remember like 2 years back in Aether Raids, one of the most important thing was to be able to secure kills with your tanks. This past year, with a lot of more very powerful nukes and everything, like the shift, there was not as much of a focus on that as more towards like survivability. Obviously, you would rather secure the kill on that nuke, but right now, like being able to secure the kill is often very necessary to help with survivability, especially like being able to one-shot back. And a lot of the common nukes with like remote sparrow, like Claude for example, do have like damage reduction to help them survive. So being able to cut through that to secure that kill is definitely a very valuable effect.
Absolutely. Like I think that's the thing too. Is like before, like you were saying, like a year or two back, I think it wasn't like that hard to secure kills because a lot of the big nukes were so invested into doing damage, right? Like that's what their whole build was doing. But then, I started to swap things up where they were giving out remote spare, giving out damage reduction, giving out sweep effects, all these ways to survive as a nuke, which became very problematic because they did their job of surviving, which was annoying. But then the other thing too is that with units like Freyr and stuff, they also removed some like debuffing support as well from like, Anima season. So like you can't even rely on things like exposure or like, just stat debuffs to also help secure kills. I think it became even more difficult to secure kills. And that's why you see the, in my opinion, the best Omni tanks were like ones with Brave effects or with DR piercing or like some way to actually secure those kills. Because if not, they're going to get danced or they're going to open up like a Wings of Mercy play or something, which just causes a million problems.
Well, that's why Legendary Lear is the best Omni tank in the game right now.
Easily the best. Like I don't think it's even close.
Yeah.
Yeah, she is so good. Like not even just as a support, but just like as an Omni tank herself. Like,
oh my gosh. Yeah. And she's green. Imagine if she was colorless.
Oh man. Fallen Lear or Brave Lear. You heard it here first.
Oh gosh.
But yeah, I guess moving back to Dimitri, like overall, you think it's like a pretty great refine and remix, right?
Yeah, I'd give like a high A, maybe like a low S. That's probably where I'd put it at. Right? I don't think it's like a meta-defining, like it's not a Brave Hector or a Brave Dimitri or even like a Yoon or Legendary Eliwood, but it's like right below that. That's pretty much where I'd put it.
What about Plumerias? Like, there was not a lot of hype for that, let's be real. But I guess it's
the
there.
refine is really bad. Like the refine itself is just trash, right? But like the remix is very nice.
Yeah, like giving Hexblade out as a dance is a really interesting effect that is really cool. I just wish like as like a player phase in like ether rates, like you would rather have that without needing to dance. That would have been ideal, but I guess it's still really nice to have it like when you dance with her.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I'm gonna be completely honest, this remix and refine batch overall was pretty mid. Not a lot there.
And it's like the second or third month in a row it's been like that, which is kind of crazy.
I'm not gonna lie, I completely forgot who got refined last month. I think I blocked it out of my memory. Yeah.
Even CYL wasn't like super exciting. Typically CYL refines are like probably the highlight of the year. But
yeah, like
I mean they weren't bad, but they weren't like, what we typically get.
Yeah, they were very tame. We didn't have like a Brave Hector or like CYL 4 where we had like Brave Dimitri and Brave Edelgard with their meta impacting refines. Like I think like sure, like there are like Marianne definitely got a very, very big boost. Gatekeeper, like I don't think his refine, well, I guess the healing part is definitely very good in ether rates. In Summoner's Duels, like I don't think his refine really did anything except make people remember that he existed.
I don't know about that. So, and the thing I'm going to say, the funny thing about Gatekeeper is what he has done is made people scared of him. And that's his biggest influence in Summoner Duels. Because if you think of all the pass that is now in Summoner Duels, that is the Gatekeeper effect right there. And so it's hard to say that he didn't have an influence, but to agree with you, I don't think that was from his refine. It just people remembered he existed and then they got scared of him.
Right. I agree.
Yeah, and like Gatekeeper is like a unit that is what I like to call very splashable. Like you can just like put him in and it's like sure. I guess that works, especially in something like SDS, where if you have like an Omni Tank team, you can just like put him in there just because. Which is why like I use him. Like you often see like teams with him, but like I don't think he like makes or break a match. I guess would be the best way to put it. Like even with his refine. I know I'm just saying this, and then Shadow's going to be at me right now.
Well, that's kind of the problem is when you lose to Gatekeeper, it is usually a very frustrating loss. And so it sticks out in your head, even though that's like 1 in, 20 matches?
You've lost to Gatekeeper before?
I have lost to Gatekeeper before. You get a good enough Gatekeeper team, and it's the Gatekeeper whales out there. They're coming for you now and again. But it's usually something that you really remember because it's so frustrating and seems just absolutely ridiculous that you just lost to Gatekeeper. And so when it happens, people really remember it.
All I remember is facing a Gatekeeper team this last SDS with my all warping team and still won because Gatekeeper couldn't kill anything. So I don't know what that says.
I felt like my team was like walking past him, like patting him on the shoulder, like next time, buddy. And just with his friends in the background.
This is now the Gatekeeper Slander podcast. All Gatekeeper Slander.
I don't know how we even started talking about Gatekeepers.
All right, I guess we can like take that as a sign to steer back into topic.
Right.
But yeah, again, Refine's pretty mid. Hopefully they get better soon. Thankfully, we did get some pretty good support unit in the form of Veyle, just the next banner on the line, who's finally in the game. I'm super excited about that. And she comes with Drive Scowl, which is a very unique effect, and I guess also provides damage reduction as well. So long, Elamine, you won't be missed.
Wow.
What?
Wow.
Hey, look, Elamine is the single biggest mistake Faye has ever made, all right?
That is not even close to true. I need to make a video on that, just like the DTM slander video.
You're going to make another diss track on me.
But I'm not going to rap or sing.
Anyways, on Veyle herself, like, what are your overall thoughts on Veyle now that she's been out for like a week and a half?
I think I feel exactly the same as when I first saw her. I think I call it pretty accurate, where I think she's good, but I don't think she's like meta defining. Like I don't think she's like a legendary Hinoka, not that kind of situation. Or her support can be very nice, but it's not like, I don't think it's enough to completely change the meta from like making Omni tanks like self-sufficient again. You know what I mean? Like I think you need that and something else we'll talk about a little bit more, and that definitely helps a ton more. But I still think that like I don't know. Like I don't think she's the best Asher Mythic. I still don't. I think she's still like a tier below. Like Lumeria is just way too flexible for me. So I think like she's good. I also do like that she can like offensively use Scowl. That's pretty nice as well. So I think she's a very solid Asher Mythic. But just for me, I think she's kind of like Elamine, where she's locked into that type of playstyle with like save balls or tanks.
Wow, I am exactly the opposite. I think she is absolutely amazing. I've been playing with her all week, just doing different replays and testing her with different things, and then I started doing sims just here recently. And the way she boosts up a team is pretty incredible to me. It's the Scowl plus the damage reduction that's based on her res. Not your, so you don't have to stack up res on your unit or, whatever stat that would be. It's on her. And she gives you resonant shields and resonant blades. That's a lot of good stuff that she's handing out. I think right now she is the ultimate support mythic.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan. I think one of the differences between her and Elamine is she's also a good combat unit. Like she can kill things very well, and that's another thing that really sets her apart. So the combination of all of those. Now the difference, and you mentioned like legendary Hinoka, and the thing about Hinoka is that is a meta-changing unit where there are archetypes built off of Hinoka in both Summoner Duels and Aether Raids. She's not at that level. Like let's be very clear.
Right.
But I do think she really ushers back in the era of using whatever Omni tank you want and just back them up with Veyle. I think that is a very viable solution right now, which is kind of fun. I haven't figured out how much she just turns the meta on its head, but I think the combination of her and Freyr actually make a pretty balanced Astra Anima season. I
so too.
know you hate him.
I don't think so at all. I think it's so toxic right now. Like I hate Anima season. Every single week of Anima season is painful. Like every single week.
That's because you try to use Altina Oblivion. So like, I'm just kidding.
Hey, really? Every time I use Altina, it works fine because I know exactly how she loses, so I don't play her the team she loses. The problem is just like how much stuff is removed from the meta. Now, obviously, there's there's a whale in the room we're not talking about because we're talking about later, which I haven't got to try out yet, so I don't know how much that affects things. But with just Veyle, I found that like when you're fighting rank 1 teams, they have a very good mix of like damage reduction piercing and damage reduction halving, right? And when it comes to damage reduction halving, Veyle doesn't really help all that much because she's not turning off specials that are gonna like stop damage reduction halving, right? That's on every single attack. And so catcher balls are still very powerful without the thing we're not talking about. So that's what I found at least. So I just found like she didn't have that big of an effect for me at least, because the very good nukes don't really. That's not true. There's Claude, but other than Claude, a lot of nukes can use like 1 cooldown specials that aren't affected by Scout really.
Have you tested her out in Aetherites, Joel? What was your experience like for you?
The thing is, and we keep alluding to this Ruse skill, and you can't talk about one without the other, right?
Right.
The combination of those two are what really bring Omni tanks back. But I think she's a big component of that. Like it's one of the reasons I think we're going to start seeing more AoEs, because they're a bit immune to this whole problem. And so I think that's going to be a thing that starts getting worked in, and maybe Sonya, rearmed Sonya starts getting better. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's both of them. But to be fair, I don't really have any like hands-on experience with that yet, so I can't say exactly. But I think I think that's the case.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see how like Veyle like shifts defense. Veyle plus Ruse 4, which we'll talk about later, like shifts the defense meta, because we haven't had like a shift in defense metas for quite a while. So it'll be interesting due to like something on offense. So it'll be interesting to see how like defenses deal with that. Like AoEs definitely are an option. More DR halving is definitely another option, and so it'll be interesting to see. I did see some folks also use her in Summoner's Duels, and while personally I can't say I have like any experience using her, I did face her once in my SDR run, and oh my goodness, she is so annoying there. I literally couldn't kill anything because she turned off all my specials that I relied on to get through damage reduction. I hate it. Oh gosh, why would you betray me like this? Like, okay, I'm so sorry.
So you get for being a Freyr fan. I also did not use her, but I ran into her a lot, and because I was playing a very different team than DTM. DTM was playing like a conventional catcher ball with a save. I was playing a hyper aggressive like flying ball essentially, right? I had no problem with her. She exploded like instantly. Like she just died, and I was like, okay, cool. Like next thing, right? But I think it's because I had so many different types of nukes. I wasn't reliant so much on specials to kill, and so I didn't really have that much of a problem with her.
Right. I also like. It's erosion.
I've been
season.
talking to some folks. Sorry, go ahead. I'm keep talking. Go ahead.
No. Like I think also a part of that is like it's erosion season, so like saves.
Right. Yes.
No one really ran saves this season, which, funnily enough, made erosion like less useful. But
Exactly.
But like because of that, like the main support she provides just wasn't like that impactful when there's like erosion. So it will be interesting to see like how well she does on seasons outside of erosion. Anyways, you were saying, Joel?
You like the reason we kept talking over each other is because we were thinking the exact same thing. That's what happened. So it's erosion season. I also think she's going to be better in SDS. I don't think she's an SDR unit. I don't think she's at that level. But I think in SDS she's a very viable unit you can put out there. But the overall firepower is just less in SDS because your units are spread thinner.
Right. Like I can imagine her being used with like dual Emir Thorn balls, where because of the scowl, like there's very little way to get through her 75% damage reduction, which will be very interesting. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Are there any like cool combos or synergies with her that you've been testing out that you've liked?
I've mostly just used her with tanks. Like, I really haven't tried anything like out there, I guess. I'm sure there's some things you can do, because like I'm pretty sure you can turn off Hardy Fighter with her, right? So that's pretty cool. That's a nice little effect you can get. But I mean, tanks were already kind of like on the decline. At least saves are on the decline for sure. So I'm not too surprised by that. But that is something you can do.
All right, so this is gonna sound like one heck of a synergy and like rigging the deck. But so you combine Rock Slide Dance, you Veyle, and then you throw in Special Spiral or even Physical No Follow Up or Magical No Follow Up depending on the unit, and suddenly you've got an Omni Tank with Piercing, and that is very, very powerful. And that's what really allows you to do that, along with a Ruse, and you survive a lot of things with a wide range of units,
including Legendary Ike.
Yeah, that sounds complicated, but it's not that hard to do. It's just expensive, and it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where units and especially when you talk about teams are more expensive to build now than they ever have been.
Especially for tanking, like.
Yes. Well, no, I think for Gale Force they are too, but that's a different topic there.
Yeah, we can come back to that later, but yeah. But yeah, like, yeah, it will be interesting to see how like Veyle like does like moving forward. Who knows? Maybe like Fallen Veyle will finally give her the dagger, and then also drive Skull again. We'll see. It will happen. Trust me. There's no way IS doesn't do it. We've been alluding to this skill, the elephant in the room, so to speak. Ruse 4 now exists with Schism, and Schism removes Triangle Attack, Dual Strike, and Pathfinder. And
oh my gosh.
Yes, that is absolutely huge. Will have a pretty big impact, I would say. How would you say this would impact Ether Raids? Is this the death of Catria Balls?
Well, Joel, you are the one with the Heather, so you should probably answer.
Should we talk about summoning rates before we go into this? Because I feel like we keep alluding to it. Most people already know, but I feel like you need to exercise the demons.
Joel and Rocket Guy, you put out these like nice little infographics like with the summoning rates, and it's like green is so good, and I'm like, okay, cool. Green is not. Green is cursed. I hate green so much. I'm at 31 or 32 Heathers now, or not Heathers, Reynas, without a single Heather, and 8 of them are 5 stars. Like, I mean, leave it to Fates to find a way to ruin a Telespanner, right? But yeah, it's been a bit painful.
Oh man. Okay, I've played with it. I can't say extensively because it's only been a day or two. I don't think it changes things as much as people think it does. And the biggest thing, for one thing, I mean, everyone sees new skills and we all overreact, and that's us included. Like that's right. It's fun too, right? Oh my God, this is the craziest thing ever. The thing that I hadn't really taken into account is the nukes right now are nuts. Like there's so many times where Windclaw doesn't need a brave hit to take you down. Look at Sanaki. The new duo Sanaki is crazy good, really good at killing things. And we could go down the list. Like Hinoka. There are a lot of very, very good nukes right now.
Yeah.
And so they don't always need brave hits to get you. And the biggest thing is the physical and magical no follow-up skills have really broadened that and allowed a wide range of units to be able to really wreak havoc. So there's that. We were already moving to a meta that was very flyer line heavy. Like the Hinoka line was already competing for the at least at the higher ranks, as the biggest defense out there. I think this makes Catria Balls take a back seat, but I don't think that it will get rid of them altogether because they're just so cheap to build. And not everyone is going to get a Heather, and some of you are going to get 31 Reynas.
We're just gonna keep pouring salt in the wound, I guess.
I mean, they're already filled.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think that is true. Like, that's one of the things that I've talked about before. Is like, when it comes to the meta, you always have to understand that availability is like one of the biggest things that affects the meta. And so when you have a really powerful skill like Ruse 4, it is limited because it's on a seasonal banner, first of all. And even if it wasn't on a seasonal banner, right? Not everyone's gonna be able to get access to it. That's just how it is. Until it's like free to play or easy accessible, it can only have so much effect on the meta. So while there is now a good counter to Catria, in ether raids at least, I don't think you should expect to see it everywhere. Especially if you're not like a high-ranking player, you probably won't see it at all.
Right.
And I'm probably gonna get stuff thrown at me, but no one's purposely summoning for a Heather.
No, definitely not. I just really wanted 3+10 Reynas.
Like they want the fodder, but the unit is just not that popular.
I think she's really cool though, honestly. I do really like her. Yeah. Not like, I don't know. I've never been like a big Heather character fan, but I think as a unit, being able to give that extra action like Aether does. I always want to call her Sather. Why are their names so close?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Norse mythology. That's why.
But yeah, I think that's a really cool effect. And I think it's really cool with Ruse because you can like double Ruse or you can like Ruse and attack. So I think she's a cool unit. But yeah, I don't expect her to be like the unit who like shakes, everything. It's more the skill itself.
Right. And like that is like Joel brought up a really important point, is that like Catria Balls are like super cheap for most people, they're basically the only like consistent defense they can like develop. Obviously, if you're like whaled out, you can start doing these like Hinoka lines, like very powerful Cav lines, etc. But like the fact that this Ruse skill exists doesn't change the fact that for most people, Catria Balls are still their best option. And that is personally why like Catria for me was like a necessary evil, in that like it made it a lot cheaper to be able to punch through a lot of the powerful tanks. And like Ruse 4, since it is mainly a skill used for offense, like things that benefit offense in general aren't really as impactful to the meta as much as things that affect defense, just due to the way Ether Raids works. And so, yeah, while Ruse 4 is definitely like a counter to Bridal Catria, it might not be as meta impactful as it would seem.
Yeah, I agree. I think the reason why I really, really wanted it was because I was like, okay, I can now use Nephany again, or like whoever I want. I was like, cool. But yeah, I think, compared to like Freyr, I don't think this is gonna have nearly the impact.
Right. We alluded to this earlier, but like, do we think this will have any impact in SD? Personally, I would say no, just due to limited range and action economy, right?
That was down to the map. Like, I think it'll be on a map-to-map basis. Like, if there are maps that are like directly vertical of each other, which you can definitely take advantage of this, and you can like make a really toxic team with like, I don't know, like Femortis, Duo Ymir, and like Maria or something stupid, where you're just like, I'm gonna sit here, come get me. I don't know, but like, I think it's possible, but probably not nearly as much as people might think. It's a very, very narrow range, right? It's a very narrow range, and it also takes an action. So that means if you're not using Haether or Heather herself, you're losing an action, which is massive in SD. Your action economy is like one of the biggest things you're like concerned about in that game mode.
Yeah, I mean, listen to someone talk about summoner duels for 2 minutes, and they'll mention the word action economy. Like, it just has to come out of their mouths. Like that's because I mean, it's that important. But yeah,
it's very, very important.
Very important. Yeah. I mean, that's why like dual harmonic units and like to change fates, future vision are just like, and Haether are just like really, really good. Like, I think Haether is the only unit that has a case to use this new Ruse 4 skill. But personally, like, I think you would rather have like magic no follow-up just so that you can have that damage reduction having and be actually able to like kill stuff. So
I think it depends on the team though too, because I could see like a raid boss team where you're like, okay, you know what, Aether is just there to turn off like Catria, and my raid boss is going to deal with stuff. I could definitely see that happening, but like, is that going to be the meta? No, definitely not.
Right, yeah. It'll be like that one team in SDS that you hope gets banned because you'll never use.
or it's your secret team where you have a +10 Noe and everyone's
yes.
like, oh, that's not a good unit, and then it's like the most powerful team you have.
Yeah. Obviously, like, Ruse 4 wasn't the only thing on this banner. We also had Sanaki, Ninja Sanaki, which we had mentioned before, but it's our dual... It's our brave Cav tome user. You know, we haven't had one of those before on a ninja banner with a dual skill that has another action. Very original unit.
Right. Yep.
I mean, obviously, like, there's comparisons to Ninjorin, but definitely, like, a lot more powerful. How would you say her strength as a nuke compares to the nukes we have right now?
Okay, so as a nuke, if you're just looking at pure killing power, I think she's way up there. The problem is most of the really crazy nukes have killing power and something else, and I'm not really seeing the and something else from her. Like the gimmick with a high res, so she gets a lot of debuffs out of the ploy and the sabotage skill. That's neat. But she's not someone that I'm just over the moon for. I think about Hinoka, and again, this is maybe a bad example, but there are archetypes built off of Hinoka. We're not going to see that from her, and I don't think she's going to bring back Cav lines, but I do think she is. I think she's very viable in Aether defense, very viable, and of course I do think there's a case for her in summoner duels. I'm curious to see her. I've been back and forth, but I guess the fact of the matter is we've been using Kagero. We see her everywhere, and this unit should perform similarly, if not better in some cases. The one thing this unit lacks is that duo skill that gives Kagero that extra space, but I mean, pair this unit up with any of the Pathfinder units, and you're gonna have a good time.
Does Sanaki have?
Too is like,
go ahead. Does Sanaki have Kanto? Like full Kanto?
Yeah,
Kagero has?
she has Kanto remaining.
Kanto remaining, which,
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty good for getting for free, right? It's not taking up your B slot, which is nice.
Yeah,
I guess.
But I think the thing too is like right now Kagero kind of came out in the perfect like situation for her to shine, which the erosion season being active for so long. So I don't know if Sanaki will have that same value. And also, like, we talked about how great the duo skill is, that gives you another action. But in SD, it's kind of hard to fully capitalize on it. Sometimes it can be great when you're in a situation where you're like, there's 2 units left, I'm going in and I can trade, right? And then force them to kill my Sanaki, or I get to kill them. But it's not the same as, like, you know, some of the other more valuable duo skills that you can get that are more like either for stalling or more proactive.
When you said it perfectly right there, it's good late game.
Right.
And late game things are less valuable than early game.
Yeah, definitely.
And the fact that you have to like engage Sanaki in combat before you use that dual skill just means that it's not like a stalling or like an action eco mechanism with that.
Exactly. I don't really expect to see her all that much in summer duels. Maybe she'll show up a little bit. That might be possible for sure.
I think she has some value in like full Cav rushdown teams.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
And that's definitely going to be very map dependent, or you could just have Katie and Lind, I guess.
Wow, you just took Faye into like WWE right there. Oh, Cav rushdown.
And we have to make some interesting terminology from what we can get.
I love it. I love it.
I try. But we'll probably only see her in like those sort of teams. Like, unless you have Katie and Lynn, like Cavs are very hit or miss depending on the map. And so, yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I think, I mean, she's really powerful, right? Like she has the one thing that melee nukes struggle with, which is damage, archer, piercing, and having, right? She has it in an abundance. Now the thing too is like she is very reliant on debuffs, like very, very reliant on debuffs. So that is something you have to consider,
right?
Especially like I think like you don't use her in Aether Raid's. If you're using her in Aether Raid's offense, you're definitely not using her in Anima season at all, right? Like typically, like you're gonna provide debuffs mid combat for them to actually work. So I think that is something you have to consider. And also in Dark season, Peony can kind of like do the dance, which removes debuffs as well,
right?
So I think there's definitely some cases where she's not as good as she might seem. I do think she is overall pretty solid. But the one thing we haven't talked about, of course, is the actual best unit on the banner, which is Zelgius, right? Like, I mean, come on, have you seen him?
Yeah, you can keep dreaming, Oblivion. Yeah, me and Joel will just like talk about.
Okay, sure. I gotta represent the Tellius people, right? Zelgius looks amazing. He's a very cool weapon. He has a brave weapon, which is really, really nice. Anytime you can get a brave weapon, it's always powerful. And that daunt effect, right? That daunt and plus attack, plus 16 attack and minus 16 attack is nothing to laugh at. That's a lot of minus or plus, either way. So I do think he is decent. The problem just like is he has the same weaknesses as every other armor does, right? There's like really powerful nukes out there, and also he has no way to get around like sweep effects, right? He's not fast, so things like Hinoka will be very problematic for him. Yeah. But if they release like NCD on armors, like an NCD fighter, I think that he could definitely go up in value because he can kill Claude. Like he can definitely kill Claude. You just need the right build, which is Special Spiral 4.
It all comes back to Special Spiral 4. We're living in Ophelia's world.
It's gained a lot of value lately. It really has.
Need that killing power.
Yeah. So like, for Zelgius, I do think like you'd best be served with like a kit overhaul with him. I don't know why they gave him DR solo.
Oh my god, because I hate Tellius.
I don't know.
I hate Tellius so much.
Like for an armor, that's just so bad. Like you would much rather have like Distant Stance or Distant Reversal. And Assault Troop is interesting. I don't think he's like Summer Edelgard at home, but like a lot worse than at home. And so
for Gale Force Show.
Right, yeah. So like you probably want to swap that for a save, or I don't know what other C skills armors can run. I guess save, yeah. And
I think he's a really good near save though, actually. I think people are kind of sleeping on him as a near save because you don't need to have that stupid distant counter in his A slot. So you could put something else there, like Close Defense 4 to remove the debuffs, or just more attack. I also think Vengeful Fighter 4 is very good on him too, because on defense, it pretty much requires the opponent to either like take him out in that one hit, or like he can like quad you if they don't have full no follow-up, right? If they don't have defensive no follow-up, which is less popular than it once was before, right? It was a lot more relevant before. Now it's they're just giving like offensive no follow-up to nukes. So I think there's that, right? And like being able to not Black Luna, I don't know what
Lightness.
The horrible name they gave it.
Lightless
Luna.
Eclipse. Why did they call it Eclipse? I'm so confused.
They don't want to give fans anything they want. But yeah, if he can Lightless Luna you twice, there's not much surviving that, right? So I think he actually has a spot on Aether Raid's defense as a near save. It's just like, what season do you need that in nowadays, right? I think it still fits for sure, but like it's gotten less popular, I think, a little bit. I don't know. For me, I've been running Storm with Freyr, and Freyr is my near save, and that's been doing wonders.
Yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is that near saves is just a lot less valuable than far saves, and has been trending lower even still. And so, like what your metal as like an armor is judged on how well you can far save these days, which is interesting.
There's very few units who can right now.
How do you like him in Summoner Duels as a far save?
I haven't tried him personally, but I do think like it's just the problem is that Claude exists, right? And Claude is green, so he already has a big color advantage over him. And so even though Zelgius might survive the first lethality, he doesn't have DR piercing. So you need some kind of way. You're either running Special Spiral 4 to get DR piercing or something. Because if he can get past the stupid Deep Star, then he can kill Claude for sure. But like that's not the easiest thing to get past as an armor for sure. You know what I mean? So like you're either running Special Spiral 4 or bringing a Lear, which is just, you're not bringing a Lear in SD. That's just a very bad comp, right? You're not bringing a Lear and Zelgius together. That's just not going to work. So it kind of makes you rely on Special Spiral 4, which is cool, but not really the most realistic thing you'd want in SD on your armor. So I think there's that. And then also there's Hinoka. And even though Hinoka doesn't hit him nearly as hard as she hits other armors, because he is blue and he has that massive daunt effect. He can't counterattack, which is just like, okay, then like, what are you doing? So like, you're just going for pure survival then, which means he's not. That's not his forte, right? Zelgius is an offensive save. That's how he's played always. Black Luna killing things. That's how he plays. He wants to kill things so that way he doesn't get hit twice. But he can't really do that against Hinoka.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I'd like to get him in the Sims versus Hinoka. I'm curious. I would like to see that though.
Yeah, I think there's I haven't seen the Sims yet, but I think there could be a possibility he does pretty well against Hinoka. I'm not entirely sure though. It's interesting that like of all the Zelgius / Black Knight alts, it's the ninja one that they chose to be slow, which is very interesting.
Right. Yeah, I was really hoping they'd give him DR piercing on his preference, because I think that would have like definitely pushed him over the top.
Oh yeah,
100%. Yeah. Again, it all goes back to what we talked about earlier. Like damage reduction piercing is now, and like securing kills is now like again back at the forefront, unless you can like purely survive. Like Valentine's Lucina against Claude, that one SDR run I did. Let's go. Wind Claude, more like wind fraud. Oh my, I got so much hate on that short, but no regrets. Yeah. But yeah, like overall, like this is the I want to say 4th ninja banner we've gotten this in FEH.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How well do you think this ninja banner did compared to like the previous ones? Do you think we'll have Sanaki for HR, for example, or anything like that?
No,
I don't
definitely
think she's
not.
popular
No.
enough. Yeah, I don't think she's popular enough. Especially when you have so many crazy units this year. Like, Wind Claude is like a shoe-in 100%. There's no way he's not on it. Possibly Freyr. There's a lot of popular. A whole bunch of engaged units will probably get on there just because they are engaged units, and we haven't gotten like everybody's favorites yet. So I could definitely see that happening as well.
Maybe Hinoka.
Hinoka for sure.
Maybe,
I think Hinoka's a shoe-in. Like, she's just too strong right now. But also Brave units will probably get in because people don't know how to vote correctly. And even Fallen Elgard, because she has to show up every year.
Yeah. Every year she'll show up and I have to endure this, and it's going to be great. I'm going to have to make another video about it. Let's go.
Oh man. But yeah, I don't know. Like when it compares to other ninja banners, right? Like Ninja Lin had a major impact on the meta just because she was such a powerful duo unit and she could run Disarm Trap. So that was something there. And then after that, Korn was very good, but too good, so they put Deflect Magic into the meta, which kind of just shut her down. And then Legyarn, I don't know. I feel like Legyarn's good, but like she just didn't really affect the meta at any like way. So I think the real unit there was like Ninja Camilla more.
Definitely Ninja Camilla.
Legyarn. Yeah.
Like I can count on like
Legyarn was designed as an arena unit, and she's excellent in arena.
Right.
I mean, yeah. There's like 10 people who play that mode. So.
Exactly.
Yeah, like I can count on one hand how many times I've seen Ninja Legyarn like in this past year. So
yeah,
Ninja Camilla was really like I haven't seen her like at all. Like I'm probably at max 4 or 5. Like,
I see her every single arena run. I see her.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I'm in tier 21 too. I've never dropped, so I never see her like ever. That's crazy. I always see like Duo, Dagger, Crom, Peony, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that was like the trio of duos that appeared every single arena. Yeah. We do have this upcoming Mythic banner with all the Golvegs. We have presumably Golveg. We have Hather, Sather. We have Nerthus. We have probably Xavier. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm not Norwegian.
Cavassier or whatever her name is.
Cavassier, yeah. Probably something like that.
I don't know.
We are heading towards the end of Book 7 and about to start Book 8 soon, which is always an exciting time, like December, new book and everything. What are you speculating on what could possibly be a part of the new book?
I don't know. Like, I feel like last book was cool because we went back to like a more grounded setting at first. Like, it seemed like it was just like Asker versus Emblem, like the nations, right? And then it kind of went to like the god fights again, which, you know, we've been in for a while. And then we went into this one. This one's just like crazy time loopy nonsense. I'm kind of just hoping that we go back to like a more standard Fire Emblem story. Like, hey, there's two nations at war. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I like that kind of stuff personally. So I would love to see that. I don't really expect that, but that would be nice. I have to say this for like all my members who constantly talk about this. I don't know why, but they want a male OC really bad. Do I think that will happen? No, but they want it, so I have to bring it up. But yeah, other than that, I really want a new game mode. Please, IS, please give me a new game mode, please.
Oh, 100%. It has been 700 days.
Right.
A
good game mode. A good game mode.
Please.
Don't give us a crap game mode.
Not an
But like
event.
Phalanx 2, let's go.
Right.
We don't need an event. We need a game mode.
Mm-hmm. That's a very good distinction, Joel, because Serious Snare people love, but it's an event. It happens like once every 2 or 3 months.
2 months.
That is not enough. We need a weekly game mode to come in that focuses on PvE.
Serious Snare is an excellent event. We need a mode.
We need a game mode.
What do you guys think about them doing like a weird detour? Because everyone is assuming that they go to Asgard. What if they did a weird detour and went modern day?
I wouldn't like that, but I'm sure other people would.
I mean, like in the current Tempest Trial stories, we're like apparently in like, I don't know, New York City or something like that, I guess.
Yeah.
With like all the buildings and stuff, or TMS land. Like, could that be like a segue into like that sort of thing? I don't know.
And go all the way back to book 5, where what was it, Alphonse saw in the mirror, the modern day stuff.
I forgot that even happened. Oh man, I don't know. I wouldn't like it, but I know other people would love it. So I don't know. It's like the fairies all over again.
Fairies were great.
It depends on what they would do with it. Like
right.
Yeah, but I'd be interested.
They release a banner of Alphonse with a machine gun.
Okay, people would summon for that.
I would summon for that. I hate to say that. I would though.
They're doing that in Genshin actually. They're like making it like, it makes no sense. They're not adding a new weapon type, but people just have guns now. And I'm like, okay, sure. I guess they could do it in Fae. Just have a dagger unit and it's a gun.
I mean, they already did it in Fae. Like, we have Alir with gauntlets, except not actually.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I get, and like even Regan had like the launchers and she was the sword unit.
Yeah,
that is true. Yeah.
So
she would slice you with a sword and then shoot you, but the main weapon was definitely the sword.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think it's possible for sure. I don't know how they would pull that off and what kind of story they would tell, but honestly, I don't really care what story they tell because I'm not that invested in that anymore. It's been a very long time since I've cared like a lot, but just give us a game mode with PvE that everybody can play and everybody can have fun in, where people can use their favorite units and it doesn't matter because it's PvE content, right? I think that's the other thing too is like when you do that, when you put a more emphasis on PvE instead of PvP, power creep doesn't feel as bad because it's not being directly used against you all the time. right? So you can play that game mode and you could have a really powerful unit like Wind Claude and no one really cares because you're just beating up bots with it. So please.
Okay, so I had a big conversation. I cannot take credit for this idea. This is all Adara, and she, like I was talking to her and she just blew my mind. So you know how we always talk about how this game is not very good for like entry level folks? What she was saying, and stick with me here, is that it is not the case at all. Because for entry folks, the game is summoning. And this game is actually very generous with orbs. So like the really casual folks, you're coming in, you see your favorite unit, you grab a copy, you play maybe 15 minutes a day, you know, you spend your orbs as soon as you get them, and then you're out. You might tap a game mode. But the real thing we're missing is the medium players, because we definitely have the diehards, we know all of them. And, but there's a lot of that middle ground that we're kind of lacking. And that's what I would like to see from what you're talking about, like with a good PvE mode. I feel like that is a good thing where like the semi-casual folks, like we're not try hard, but we're not casual. That's something that they could sink their teeth into and really get them more invested into the game and feed them more into the ranks of the try hard cult.
That's actually a really good observation because, like, I guess new players starting out, like, they're not going to touch Aether Race, they're not going to touch Arena, they're not going to touch Summer Duels. They're just going to summon heroes and go through the story. And like, remembering back to like when I first like started Veyle, like that's basically what I did. And like, it was difficult at the time because obviously like I didn't know the game as much. So the fact that we these days like auto battle like is not as important as like for what a new player would actually do. And so that is an interesting observation. But yeah, I definitely agree, like focusing on that medium level that's what we're currently missing, and bridging the gap between that I think would be really nice.
Right, because I think that is the thing where like you have these players come in and they're like, oh, I like Fire Emblem, I like these characters, I'm gonna summon for them, right? And they play the story, but the problem is the story itself isn't very engaging, right? Like, oh, I didn't even mean to do that. So it doesn't really draw you in that much. Like the story just doesn't have much meat to it, right? Even if you like the story, you get like a couple of lines per chapter. You get 5 chapters and only like 3 of them actually have any story relevance, and the other ones are just characters walking in and saying a one line and leaving, like Violent, right? Like they need to fix that in my opinion, right? They need to make it so that the new player experience, even if it is just summoning and doing the story, that there's a hook there, right? Something to pull you in a little bit farther. And then we have this new game mode to pull you in even farther, right? So you get hooked in with the story maybe in the beginning, and then you get into this new PvE game mode, which is just fun to play, and then it starts to bring you into the other things that are more competitive game modes, right? Like I think that's what we're missing, right? We're missing the conversion rate. Like we need to get new players hooked and then drag them all the way in, drag them into the deep end. Like we, right now we don't have that. The way you're
saying this sounds like super evil. Just letting you know.
Well, because that's how I think. I try to think of like how the devs think, right? Like you have to think about money, and you have to think about like how they, right? Like what you're trying to do is make it so that you have new players come in and they start playing, and then they get addicted and start spending money, right? That's their technical goal. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Businesses need to make money. If they weren't, they wouldn't be making the game. The problem is I think they're very, very inefficient at doing it. And so instead they just squeeze the whales harder and harder every month.
I guess, yeah. I mean, I definitely agree, right? Like having something there to bridge that transition to like get people further and further along, like would definitely be a big boon for the game. Like we've been talking about this like
for years.
Yeah, like pretty much every other podcast video, I think we've talked about this. we like offhandedly mentioned Oblivion's one idea that he'll never make a video about, and
I know.
and yeah, like I guess we're going to continue to talk about it until like it happens. Like again, Seer Snare is really good, but it's an event and it's not as in depth as it could have been. And so either like an expansion into something permanent or what have you would be definitely good for the game.
Yeah. Big PvE game mode. And I would love if the PvE game mode let you play with your favorites. Because I think like what's one of the things that we see a lot with like small content creators and just even Redditors, right? Is they love to show off abyssals clearing it with their favorite units, right? That's one of the you see it all the time. And you used to see it more back in the day. Now imagine if we had a game mode that actually like promoted that. Oh, there's this cool game mode. There's a little bit of difficulty in there. Watch me beat it with my Nino from year 1. People would love that. It would actually make it much more interesting because I feel like abyssals just don't have enough depth to it to make it interesting enough to watch all those. But if you have a game mode that does, then I think people will actually start to like create more content, which then helps the game. Like it's a cycle of things that could help the entire game.
Yeah, definitely. Like Aether Raids used to be like the easiest way to start making content, but that has sort of fallen off with, you know, the tragedy that is Aether Raids defense. But we won't talk about that right now. Like, yeah, just not interesting anymore. But yeah, like another game that can promote content like that. Like, you know what would also like promote content, like a co-op mode or something similar.
Yes.
Like we only have Grand Conquest, and that's like sort of like
oh my God.
ad hoc makeshifted co-op that we have to like use YouTube and Discord to like use, and it's like
we haven't gotten it in 6 months.
That is true. Oh my goodness, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So long.
The current theory is that they axed Grand Conquest and Roker Sieges.
Stop. It's one of my favorite game modes.
I know. I like both of those. Like I have a lot of fun with both of those.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of Rocker Sieges, but yeah, Grand Conquest was really good for the co-op thing.
Mm-hmm. I think the other thing too is like, this isn't uncommon in gachas. I think it's actually pretty common, but there's a lot of hatred towards whales, right? And I'm not saying this because I'm a whale, right? I'm not trying to like make you love me. I don't really care. But I've been playing Final Fantasy mobile game, and there's a lot of people who love whales in that game. The reason why is there's co-op content. So these whales can come in and they can carry you through the hardest content in the game. And so everybody loves these whales. These whales are everybody's like freaking saviors. Like you just got me, orbs essentially, right? You got me free orbs, and I didn't do anything at all, and you just spent thousands of dollars and helped me out, right? And I think having that in FEH, even to a small extent, can be great.
This is why, like, I always
everybody hates me. Guess I'm gonna go play Final Fantasy.
Pretty much. I'm just saying, like, I think that's cool, right? I think that's when you make your whales feel good, they're gonna spend more money, right? It's all back to the money. You gotta think about money.
Oblivion is the real dev too, all right? Like he always complains about me with all my ideas.
Hire me. I will make you so much money.
I was thinking like maybe not along the lines of co-op, but like SD mode where you can use your friends' units as part of like the thing. Yeah. Like so all the whales like will be getting like a bunch of friend requests and be like that sort of savior thing. Like I mean I just could do it, right? Like,
that's another thing I had thought about. Like one of my like revamps I want to do for game mode is like you make a summoning pool that is like for friend points or guild points or whatever, right? Where you can like do free summons, and then you have like year 1 or year 2 units in there as 5 stars. And then if you did that and then you made there a game mode with co-op and you got friend points from, right? Whales would love that. Oh my god, whales would love that so much. You're playing my unit and I'm getting stuff for it. Oh man, right? And I think other people would love that too. So I think that would just be like a great thing they could do. And other gachas do that. There's a lot of gachas that do that.
Yeah, we'll have to see, I guess, what IS cooks up for Book 8. Hopefully, some of these suggestions, like PvE/co-op/ etc., will make it. We'll have to see. We'll have to wait for like around a month from now on the next podcast video. So get subscribed if you haven't already. Got to do my little spiel there, I guess. But yeah, like we've been talking for like 1 hour and 15 minutes roughly. Is there any final thoughts? Anything else you want to discuss before we end it off?
There's a lot of things to summon coming up, so make sure you save those orbs, or like because like there's the rerun that just happened yesterday.
Yep.
There's the legendary Dimitri Plumeria banner coming up. The legendary banner after the month is gonna have a legendary and a mythic on it, and then December legendary mythic is insane. That banner is gonna be so much value, so you definitely save some orbs.
Yeah, lots of your orb budget is not safe coming into this winter. So yeah, be good, save orbs, don't wail too much if you don't have the money to, and yeah, thank you too. As always, it's always super fun to do these podcast videos. Always fun talking about FEH. And yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, again, if you haven't already, be sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell, not only to my channel, but to Oblivion's and Joel's channel as well. The link to them will be in the description down below, so definitely do check it out. They're amazing FEH content creators, and I can't stress enough how amazing they are. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching. Let us know down in the comments what your favorite new addition in FEH has been in the past month. And yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and see you all next time. Bye everyone.
Bye guys.
Bye.